The following story is not for the faint of heart. It's a tale of two young women who, in their search for a paranormal experience, stumble upon something they never expected. Despite warnings from their parents and their own initial skepticism, they decide to play with a Ouija board on a Friday night before a full moon in a cemetery. What follows is a series of events that will make your hair stand on end and leave you wondering if it's ever a good idea to mess with things beyond our understanding. So, get ready to be transported to a world of the unknown, where even the bravest souls fear to tread. Welcome to Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. We are thrilled to have you join us for two new spine-tingling tales of the paranormal each week, stories that will make you shiver with fear and keep you on the edge of your seat. From haunted houses to possessed objects, we have the most bone-chilling tales of the supernatural. Get ready for a terrifying journey into the unknown with our bone-chilling episodes featuring blood-curdling stories that will send shivers down your spine. So hit that like button, share the horror with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. This story is a great example of the world of the unknown. This is entitled The Terrifying Results of Playing Ouija at the Cemetery, and this is from Akira, who's from Osaka, Japan. Jane and Mara were two inseparable friends who had always shared a deep bond. They were known in their small town for their strong religious beliefs, and they viewed the world through a lens of skepticism when it came to anything beyond the ordinary. Paranormal tales and supernatural phenomena were dismissed as nothing more than fanciful stories to them. However, one fateful evening, their unquenchable curiosity led them down a path they could never have anticipated. It was a typical Friday evening when Jane and Mara's curiosity got the best of them. Despite their skepticism, the idea of trying their luck with a Ouija board began to take hold. They couldn't help but wonder if there was any truth to the stories they had heard from their peers. Their parents, devoutly religious themselves, had always cautioned them against dabbling in the unknown. It was, after all, a small town with its fair share of eerie legends. But, driven by their growing curiosity, Jane and Mara decided to conduct their own experiment with the mysterious Ouija board. They planned to meet at the local cemetery, a place that had always intrigued them with its solemn silence and centuries-old gravestones. It was a Friday evening, just before the full moon, casting an eerie glow on the surroundings. The stage was set for their exploration of the unknown. To make their experiment feel more authentic, Jane had spent the afternoon crafting a makeshift Ouija board from a weathered piece of wood she found in her father's shed. She carefully inscribed the alphabet, numbers, and yes and no onto the wooden surface. Mara, on the other hand, arrived with a bundle of candles and a soft mat to sit on. It was an attempt to create an atmosphere of reverence and respect for whatever might choose to communicate with them. The cemetery was quiet, save for the distant hooting of an owl. Jane and Mara found a secluded corner, away from the resting souls, and carefully set up their impromptu Ouija board. They lit the candles, their flickering flames casting eerie shadows on the gravestones. With bated breath, they began to call out to any spirits that might be lingering in the realm beyond. They promised to offer their help in any way possible, a gesture they hoped would make them more amenable to communicating. The minutes turned into an hour, and their anticipation gradually waned. Despite their earnest efforts, there was no response from the other side. Disheartened, they concluded that the Ouija boards were nothing more than a form of harmless entertainment. The candles were extinguished, the mat rolled up, and they left the cemetery just as raindrops began to fall from the sky. Mara had a brief thought about leaving one candle burning as a sign, but as she attempted to set it up, she accidentally knocked it over, igniting a small fire. In their haste to extinguish the flames, they inadvertently created a cloud of smoke that made it difficult to see their surroundings. Amidst the swirling smoke, Jane felt an unsettling presence behind her. Her initial instinct was that it might be the police, responding to a late-night call about trespassers in the cemetery. She shared her fear with Mara, but both knew that no one could have missed their hurried exit. The eerie feeling of being watched persisted as they made their way out of the cemetery and began their walk back home. When Jane returned to her room that night, she quickly stashed the makeshift Ouija board under her bed and left the room for a moment. Upon her return, she found her bedroom mirror inexplicably fogged over. To her shock, the Ouija board was now lying on the ground, and her duvet cover was mysteriously missing. The following Monday, Jane decided to share her unsettling experience with Mara. To her surprise, Mara had her own strange occurrences to recount. She had been tormented by recurring nightmares that consistently placed her in a submerged state, surrounded by water, around 2 a.m. each night. Even more puzzling was the mysterious bruise on her arm, a painful reminder of the inexplicable events. Jane and Mara agreed to a solemn pact: they would never play with the Ouija board again, and they would leave the world of spirits well alone. Jane's life returned to normal, but Mara couldn't shake the feeling that something continued to lurk around her, a presence that refused to be ignored. As the days turned into weeks, Mara's unease grew into a perpetual state of dread. She felt as though she were constantly being watched, her every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. Nightmares plagued her, leaving her exhausted and terrified. Often, she'd awaken in the dead of night, paralyzed and unable to move, as if an invisible force held her down. One harrowing night, Mara awoke to find a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed. It was an entity that defied description, lacking any discernible features. However, the chilling sensation it sent through her was unmistakable. The figure appeared to be staring directly at her, an unrelenting gaze that filled her with an unparalleled fear, unlike anything she had ever experienced. From that night forward, Mara existed in a perpetual state of fear. She was convinced that she was being followed, and her sense of dread only intensified. She tried desperately to convince herself that it was just her imagination running wild, but the feeling refused to subside. As Halloween approached, Mara received an unexpected and deeply unsettling package in the mail. Inside was a photograph of the very cemetery where they had experimented with the Ouija board. Accompanying the photograph was a note that sent shivers down her spine, reading simply, "I'm still here." Terrified and trembling, Mara knew that whatever had been shadowing her was very much present and still watching her every move. She resolved never to play with the Ouija board again and vowed to keep the terrifying events to herself. The fear that speaking of it might awaken something even more sinister was too great to ignore. The chilling story serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes, it is wiser to leave certain things untouched and not to tempt fate. The world is filled with mysteries beyond our understanding, and the darkness that resides in the shadows may be more malevolent than we can fathom. Those drawn to the paranormal must exercise the utmost caution, for their desires may lead to consequences that transcend the boundaries of reality, plunging them into a world of terror and uncertainty. If this video left you spellbound, dive deeper into the world of chilling tales by joining our channel, Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. Access a treasure trove of bone-chilling stories waiting for you with new episodes 2 times a week. Spread the fear among your friends and family who crave a good scare and give them goosebumps. We'd love to hear your spine-tingling experiences as well, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. You can also send us your story so we can feature it in one of our future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay scared. Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. The stories depicted in this video are shared by people who believe they are true, but they have not been verified. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the people who shared the stories and do not necessarily reflect the views of YouTube, Google, or Facebook. The channel does not endorse the views expressed in this video. This video is not intended to be used as evidence of any supernatural or paranormal activity. If you are experiencing paranormal activity, please contact a qualified professional.